Okay, welcome back to the pod. Thank you so much for jumping in and joining us. So a bit of a momentous day here today on the pod. So a couple of really exciting things going on. So the first one is you will see we've got 2 mics, which we haven't had before. So I'm so excited that I finally got all the software, all the tech issues sorted out, and I've now got 2 mics. So I'm bringing to you this amazing podcast studio sound that you're going to be hearing now, which is fantastic. And we've not been able to achieve that before. So really excited, dead happy, and I hope you enjoy that and it improves your experience watching this podcast. But also another momentous thing is that we have our first man.
Am I?
That made you stand up. We've got the first man on the podcast. I've not had a guy on the couch yet. So, welcome, Matt.
Welcome, Matt. Brilliant.
How do you feel about that?
I feel excellent about it.
Do you feel honoured?
I do feel honoured.
I'm excited. We've not had a guy on the pod couch. It's been mainly women, which is fantastic because it's women doing amazing things. But we need to mix it up a bit.
Hopefully I'll break the seal for you. And then you can have some more men and
on the podcast.
Get fully manned up.
God, how dodgy does that sound? So, thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. So, I've given you a brief introduction. We've got Matt on the podcast today, but I know who you are, Matt. But for everyone else who might not, I don't believe there's many, but who might not, tell us, who is Matt Elliott?
It's funny, actually, we were talking about this, weren't we, just before we press record, and usually people's go-tos are generally labels. So I'll probably start with labels. So I am a health and wellness coach. I'm 43. I call myself a Derby lad, even though I wasn't born in Derby. I was born in Chesterfield, but we moved here when I was 6. So we've been in Little Eaton. Well, my family have been in Little Eaton since 1988. I am a fiance to Saffron, soon to be husband, and soon to be dad of the baby that's cooking currently in Saffron, which will make an appearance in June.
Oh, wow. So big year.
Big year.
Exciting things happening. Yeah,
loads of great stuff. 24 was really good for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, like everything, ups and downs, but 25 hopefully is going to shape up to be a
good year, a different year.
Yeah, and I can't forget birthdays and stuff like that because Saf's birthday is in June. He'll be born in June, so everything's around June, and it's 2025. So I'm not going to not know when
things are.
When things are. Yeah.
Wow, I like that.
Compact efficiency. Yeah.
So it's an exciting year for you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's really cool. So, tell us a bit more about Matt, the nutrition and wellbeing coach then.
Okay, so we have our business, which is Nutrition Angel. So that's on Park Farm. Me personally, it all kind of stems from my background. I never actually wanted to go into health and fitness or wellness. I was always interested. I was always into the gym and martial arts and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't really something that I'd set out to do. So my background is I was in the forces. So I actually joined the parachute regiment when I was 19. Long story short, I finished all my training and wasn't allowed to jump, which is generally a prerequisite for parachute, because I'd prolapsed a disc in my back. So they basically said, no, you can't jump out of a plane. Therefore, I've got to transfer out. So I moved over to the Army Air Corps, and the whole reason why I joined the parachute regiment in the first place was because I wanted to be a bodyguard. So when I'd kind of looked into all of that stuff, it was military service was preferred, or police, or all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure the police would have took me when I was 19. Let's just file that under that one. Let's leave that there. So military it was. So when I moved from the parachute regiment, which is obviously trained at an elite level, it's elite level everything, and went into regular army. Sorry if there's any regular army people listening. I found that my skill set was a lot higher, should we say, particularly in the fitness area. So, I was very much I'd call it probably a D student in fitness where the parachute regiment was concerned, and suddenly went to A star overnight from moving from one unit to another. So, funnily enough, when I started getting better at it, I decided that I actually quite like this thing. So, very quickly became a regimental physical training instructor. So that's basically looking after the fitness and I suppose health of the regiment and what have you, doing everything from assault courses on armed combat and all the rest of it. And I decided that I actually really quite liked that.
Enjoyed it, yeah.
Left the forces in 2006 on the Friday, walked into a job as a personal trainer on the Monday. I was just training in the gym and got approached because I'd been in that gym previously and asked if I got any plans. I had got plans, but nothing that was too immediate. And they said, well, we're looking for trainees. Do you want to do it? And then got asked if I'd apply for a job at David Lloyd, did that, and very quickly found that I just did not like personal training because I'd gone from regimental PTI, which was I was doing everything with the lads. So if we were doing a tab is essentially, it's called a tactical advance to battle, but it's a run with weight or what have you. You do it with them because you set pace and all this kind of stuff. If you're doing assault course, you're generally doing it with them. When I then went into the world of personal training, it was more then about, I just didn't want to stand next to Mrs. Jones on a treadmill because I wasn't allowed to train with them because health and safety and all this kind of stuff. And it just wasn't for me.
No.
So I kept a small amount of my own sort of clients and went into group fitness.
Right.
So that's where I sort of really found my flair. So I worked with a lot of Les Mills programs, so body pump, body combat, anything really started with body, and then sort of worked into master trainer roles. Was approached by Adidas to go be a global fitness ambassador for those guys, and I was just basically flying around the world training trainers to train trainers, which was pretty cool.
Wow, really cool.
Yeah,
Impressive.
really cool. Yeah, and then I decided I wanted to start my business. I mean, there was a few sort of things because I love business and I love health and wellness, so I was trying the whole time to figure out where the gap in the market was, what I wanted to do, and no matter how much people trained with me, the results, even though they were getting good results, they only became great results when we kind of fixed what was going in their face, pardon the pun. So that's what then led me down the route of realizing that most people, this is a sweeping generalization, most people aren't keen on working out to lose weight. They work out because of how they feel and all that kind of stuff. But there is definitely a discord in working out equals either losing weight or losing fat and all this kind of stuff, because you hear it all the time, abs are built in the kitchen, it's true, or losing weight is built in the kitchen, it's absolutely true. So when we started fixing that, that's what really then sort of sent me down the path of looking at an easy solution for people to be able to, we just say weight. When I say weight, I mean fat. It's just people hear the term losing weight, but what they actually mean is losing fat. But I'll say weight just because it's it's more of a generalization.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Yeah.
So then how does that lead on to, how was Nutrition Angel born?
So I've always had a fixed location where people can come and see me to essentially play around with their nutrition, help them lose weight. It started in Nottingham. I had offices in Nottingham and all that kind of stuff. And Nutrition Angel came about because I was looking at really an American concept of kind of like opening a shake bar where, you could get healthy teas, healthy shakes and all that kind of stuff. And previously I'd done a very sort of different model where people would be coming in to see us on a daily basis, to have breakfast with us, learn about nutrition, all that kind of stuff. It was doing really great. And then COVID hit. So we'd opened a load. We'd got 24 Derby, we'd got 24 Duffield. We've got a couple of other sites that were opening up. We'd actually got some sites opening up in Wickersley, Rotherham area and that kind of stuff. And we're starting to do well. And then obviously COVID hit and we closed everything down. A lot of the sites got repurposed. Either landlords offloaded them, got rid of them or what have you. And we took everything online. Now, weirdly, we did really well online for that period of time. But during that period of time, it was kind of like shooting fish in a barrel because everybody had loads more money because they weren't spending anything, and everyone was either going to the home gym or the home gin. It's in gin. So people either got fit or got fat in COVID. I don't care what anybody says.
Hell yeah, feel that.
Well, my one wasn't fit, put it that way, because I hate training at home. And I just remember I don't think it helped that it was a glorious summer as well. And it was beanbags outside with gins most days. And that was that.
Because there was nothing else to do.
No, myself included. You had your 1 hour a day and, what have you. And the rest of it was a cheese and wine party. Yeah. So
it sounds good to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So to answer your question, I wanted to test out this, do a bit of a market test. And obviously when you're doing a market test, you don't want to go having a site that costs you thousands and thousands of pounds in rent and all that kind of stuff. So I took on a really small unit at Park Farm and started to try and knit this concept together. And to start with, it did really well in one area, but in the other area, it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Right. So because it was too me dependent on the logistics of the business, I realized that maybe 18 months down the line that this wasn't the way I wanted it to go. And I wanted to put it back to the scalable style that I wanted to do in the first place before we locked everything down for COVID. And then it just went absolutely nuts. And we massively outgrew our little site on Park Farm. And long story short, we bullied out the management office, literally bullied them out.
You actually did.
Yeah, we did.
They are really scared of you.
Well, sometimes you've got to use what you've been given.
Use what your mama gave you.
Yeah, that's it. And we effectively swapped places. So they came into us. We had their nice, much bigger unit opposite Costa, for those that know Park Farm. Ironically placed next to, in front of Costa, next to Subway, next to the GP surgery, and opposite Peacock Lounge. So,
and the Chippy.
And the Chippy, of course, yeah, the Chippy. So, yes, we moved in there literally over the weekend, turned the whole thing around over bank holiday weekend last year. And I think we're now at 150 odd members, I think. We've got 7 coaches, and we've got one of our coaches that's going to be opening a sister site of ours soon, which is good. Yeah.
So it has gone bananas. I mean, I know that obviously because I go. So it has gone bananas.
It has.
So for people that don't know what Nutrition Angel is, then tell us what it is. What could you expect? What's it for?
So everybody who comes to Nutrition Angel starts with a free wellness evaluation. And the reason why we do this is because you can't really tell people what it is, how it works, which is really against really all of my own principles of business. Because if an 8-year-old can't explain it, they could probably explain it a lot better than I can. But in a way that people who haven't seen it to understand it's very, very difficult, which is why we put people through the wellness evaluation, because we don't take everybody on. So we've got to make sure you're right for us, we're right for you, and then we can kind of move forward from there. However, if I was supposed to put it in a sentence, it would be we're a nutrition results-driven company that focuses on basically making things simple, one, for people to understand their concept of losing weight, when really what they're actually saying is they want to alter body composition. Yeah. So there is so much noise out there about weight loss and fat loss and nutrition, all this kind of stuff, and it is very, very basic. So what we do is we take the complicated, we make it very simple, but we put it in a non-judgmental, community-focused place that is a breakfast club situation. So that's why people say to you, why are you only open? So we're only open 7 till 11 a.m. Monday to Friday, 9 till 11 on Saturday, because we compress time, we get people before the day gets hold of them. And funnily enough, we are so busy. So obviously people appreciate that they're able to do that. Yeah. But we're not just a once a week drop in as and when you want, weigh and shame kind of approach. The reason, again, why we do the wellness evaluation is so we can lay out all the stipulations of what you're going to have to adhere to come to the club. Because most people know what's healthy and what's not. If they're honest with themselves, they know what they should and shouldn't be doing. The difference is with us is that we give them the confidence that what they're doing is right, while holding their hand for accountability. Most people, like I say, know what's healthy, what's not. We provide the accountability and some coaching. We call it swapping bad for better. So we help people swap bad for better, but also get them great results while they're trying to figure this thing out. So, for me, my main principles are, if you're not going to start it when you're 80, don't start it now. Because it's not a sustainable change you're looking for, it's a quick fix. Right. What we do where we are is essentially giving people the tools for long-term change, rather than, I've lost a stone, but then I'm going to get complacent and then I'm going to put the weight back on again because I don't know how I've achieved it. So whether they understand at that point in time, whether they appreciate they're being educated on what they need to do long-term, it doesn't matter, because they're getting results there and then, and we kind of then teach them in retrospect of how they've got to where they've got to. So we get them the results and show them how they've got there, rather than them just kind of standing on a scales and then wondering why they've gone up 300 when I've been really, as in 300 grams,
Yeah.
when I've been really good.
Yeah.
We explain why that is
Yeah.
and why it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's about like sustainability. It's about changing habits. It's about a lifestyle.
Yeah.
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 Teaching people what they need to do to be able to live a healthier lifestyle, drop fat if they want to, whilst having that accountability and also the guidance and the expertise as well that you get there.
Yeah, and it's community focused. Now, you being a can I call you a psychologist? What can I call you? Can I call you a therapist? What's your
therapist is fine.
Okay, so with a lot of, particularly where the body's concerned, keeping people in the game is delivering a feeling of subjective progress. So what you have when you come to Nutrition Angel should be, if you've come in and we've left you better than we found you, is you should be getting constantly, maybe not every visit, but most of the visits, you should be feeling that feeling of subjective progress, because keeping the subjective progress going means that it's something ridiculous, like 90-something% more likely to keep up and ingrain the habits that you're learning, the new habits that you're learning. So the reason why we're so hell-bent on providing that is because we know that is really the underpinning thing.
Yeah.
It takes us back to the conversation of people know what they should be doing, but they don't. So actually I would call us probably more life coaches than I would necessarily nutrition coaches, because people will ask me, are you a nutritionist and what have you? And my answer to that is absolutely not. I'm a peopleist, because nutrition is very, very simple. It's been made complicated by the media and idiots, and it doesn't have to be like that. And plus, as people, as there are patterns and principles that personalities generally either latch onto, or there are patterns that rerun all the time. Really what we're doing is we're interrupting the patterns to help people move closer to what they wanted to get when they came through the door in the first place. And actually most of that isn't ingrained in nutrition.
More about habits, bit of education,
principles, patterns, this kind of stuff. And with us, we help you swap bad for better, but we do our best not to take anything away from people. So you'll often hear when I sit down for a wellness evaluation, you're going to take my wine away from me, aren't you? Or you're going to take, insert whatever vice it is. And generally,
are you quoting me there?
I can't, client confidentiality. It's not about taking it away from you. It's, can we still give you what you want, but can we make it a little bit more efficient towards the goals because you're paying us for a reason. And I make no apologies for, we aren't the cheapest. We've never set out to be the cheapest business, because for me, that's a race to the bottom. We've set out to deliver results. And if you want results, I make no apologies in you paying for it.
Absolutely.
Because when we don't have many people leave Nutrition Angel, which kind of is great in one hand, but the whole point of what we're trying to do is to teach you so you can survive without us. And get and maintain your results without us. That's the whole point. The fact that people choose to say is really flattering, because it is forming a really strong community. We work hard and play hard. We put on parties for people and all that kind of stuff. So we show that we are real people. And I drink. I love a Cuban cigar, that kind of thing. And I never expect my clients to do things that I don't, as long as it's moving them towards what they're paying us for. Because fundamentally, that's what we're there to deliver.
As long as it comes with progress, however that looks. So I was going to ask you about the vibe you've created there, but you've kind of answered that. It is a great vibe, isn't it? It's a very supportive vibe. It's this breakfast club style thing where, people coming up to 11, they're getting the expertise from you, but there's also a real community feel. That's kind of a lot of the vibe, isn't it? It's supportive. It's like a community type feel. How have you managed to create such a positive community vibe in that way, do you think?
Well, we call it being clubbed. So when people come into club and they experience that, we call it being clubbed. So essentially, it comes from you guys, because we are very referral driven in that people want to recommend us. So I know that if someone's come from you, you've already not pre-vetted them, but we know that Lindsay's a great person, so therefore she's likely to be referring great people as well. So, we don't tolerate we don't get many, if any, what I would call sort of bad apples. But if people have come in for the wrong reasons, maybe we've not been as, maybe my posture's not been as strong when we've taken on people for a wellness evaluation. We've maybe given people the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes we can end up with people who maybe we're not right for them, and vice versa. But, fundamentally, we are a nice business with nice people in it. And I think that is a testament to creating the vibing club. And also, when you can't help but, join in when people are, laughing and because we have a lot of banter, because we want to make sure that it's not a fit. It's a very personal thing, weight loss and what have you. And how we do what we do in terms of body composition change, there's a lot of people within club, sharing their results and what have you, which in some settings can be really quite uncomfortable. But when you put it in a relaxed environment where it's non-judgmental, and you can have a laugh when it's either going the right way or the wrong way, to bring you back on track. So you always leave feeling like it might not have gone my way today, but that's fine, because it's wrapped in the education piece of here's why. And for me, that's really important. So when you have people coming in, particularly new people, I make it my absolute mission, and Saffron does as well, who obviously runs a business with me, to know people's names. So everybody who comes in gets a morning. Well, I used to be
there's a lot of people, right? You've got a lot of members. I don't know, but you do.
And that's just I suppose it's a discipline that I've tried to instill in myself, because I used to be terrible at names. Someone would introduce themselves to me and I would have just forgot their name like seconds later. So half of the time, if people are coming in, I will kind of walk over to where people have signed in and just remind myself. And when I've done it quite a few times, then or I'll get into a purposeful conversation with them and then it sticks. Then anyway, that was how I did it. And that all started in the shake bar when people were coming in. Because if you would go into like a Costa or something like that, when was the last time you went into Costa and someone went, oh, hi, someone behind the barista went, hi, Lindsay, morning, Lindsay. Or if you go into somewhere where you go that is not necessarily where you would have an interpersonal relationship with someone, and they spoke to you by your first name, or said morning, Lindsay, or see you later, Lindsay, when you're back, Lindsay. And all these things are cultural. And building the culture of people knowing each other's names. So if you're a brand new member, I want you knowing at least the names of the people sat at the side of you. Because it brings us back to it being a personal and quite a fearful thing, is that if you know that this person here and this person here is maybe just slightly ahead of you, then it creates a social proof, but also it kind of makes you realize that, well, all these people are the same as me. I'm no different to all of the people on these boards. Therefore, this place must be doing something right.
Absolutely. Which actually leads on really nicely to the next question, because the results are amazing. The results that you guys get and your members are getting for themselves are amazing, and they speak for themselves. We see it on social media. The results are incredible. So for people listening, what is the secret? How is this happening?
The old school way that people would lose, let's just call it lose weight, is they would generally go to a group that will remain nameless, and they will walk in, and it'll be stand on scales, and whatever way it's gone will depend really on how the conversation's gone. So I know that weigh and shame, all that kind of stuff does not work.
No.
And it never has, by the way. It's just a very good business model to keep people coming back. Whereas for me, right back when I was PTing, my goal was to get rid of people as quickly as possible, which was really outside the box of the norm of most personal trainers, whatever, you want to try and keep hold of everybody because they've got targets to hit, and I feel for them. For me, it was like, if I can get this person a really great result, they're going to leave. They're going to leave the gym, but they might not be training with me anymore, but they're going to look vastly different to when they first started, which means they're going to tell everybody else when they're saying, you look fantastic, how did you do it? Oh, I went to see Matt and blah, blah, blah. Hence referral system because of that. So our job ideally is to get fast, impressive results for people, for one. But for me, it had to break the cycle of I'm just going to go stand on scales once a week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, depending on how that went, will then depend really how my week's gone. And if I'm weighing in on a Wednesday and I've had a terrible time, sod it, I'm going to start on a Monday. So then, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wasn't going to, but it helps me sometimes
explain.
So
get your passion across.
Most people have got a very big fuck it bucket. And what happens?
Oh, I have.
Yeah. And we've probably even had this conversation, to be fair, about making it smaller or at least plugging some of the holes. Yeah. So if you have this weigh and shame kind of thing, or weigh and celebration, you have this kind of roller coaster of highs and lows. And we already know that you've not really eaten that day because you're weighing in the evening, and then you've starved yourself for a couple of days beforehand, so the scales move, and then you've binged on something else, and the cycle just keeps repeating. And then obviously the fuck it bucket comes out if you're a pound up. And by the way, and it does bring it back to education, in that you have absolutely no idea where that weight has come from to contribute to this said gain that you're being shamed about. Now, for us, yes, we obviously weigh people, but it's such a tiny part of really weight. All that weight does is it tells you in part that you are in a mild deficit. Now, we need you to be in a deficit in order for you to lose body fat. And what have you. However, when you start getting people eating correctly, their body composition starts to shift. When you start taking into account hormones, water intake, fat loss, muscle gain, all of the above, even down to sometimes the salt you put on your food the night before, all this plays a role in weight. And we are just talking weight about individually. It doesn't necessarily play a role in body composition or fat. So when people are going up and they're seeing this come in, this fluctuation and what have you, educating them on the fluctuation is more important than the result on the scales. So when eventually, and this does take some time, particularly if people have been conditioned to that weigh and shame once a week kind of thing, which is why when people come to Nutrition Angel, they're coming multiple times a week. Why? Because we want them to experience these multiple changes so that we can explain them to them. So whenever I'm doing the explanation of how the club works, I will always say when we get to the scales, look, we don't care what you weigh. No one, at some point, at some period in time, somebody decided that they were going to put something between you and the floor and make it mean something. And other than it being gravity, being pulled down to the earth and it kicking out a number with you in between you and a weigh measurement, it actually means nothing. Along with BMI. In fact, I found out the other day that BMI was actually created by an astrologer for something to do with stars and all this kind of stuff. And I say to people, the B in BMI stands for bullshit. Okay. So I'm clinically obese. If I was to have my BMI done, I would be clinically obese. Now, obviously the camera adds £10. You can say
we've got about 4 cameras on us, so don't judge.
Most people who know me not to be clinically obese. So the education piece around weight and understanding all of the things that create that weight, and then actually explaining it in a way that really talks to fat loss and body composition is the cornerstone for how we get the results, because it brings us back to that point of the feeling of subjective progress. Because if I can show you, yes, your weight hasn't moved, but your body fat has come down a percentage, you've gone up by half a kilo in lean tissue because now you're feeding yourself effectively. Oh, and by the way, you were drinking Coke and now you're drinking 2.5 litres of water. This is all going to play a part in what's going on with your weight, but not only that, your healthy body composition. So when we get the penny drop in for that, we generally see weight loss accelerate. And when the understanding becomes something that relaxes people into knowing that, look, because actually extending people's timeline as well is a huge thing that leads to the results, because everybody wants the Amazon Prime body. They want to order it today and I want it tomorrow. If I could do that, I would be on a yacht in the Caribbean, never having to worry about anything again. Unfortunately, we can't. So being able to extend people's time horizons, because now, of course, you've got all the weight loss injections and all this kind of frightening stuff coming through. everybody wants something tomorrow, particularly where fat loss and body change is concerned.
Yeah.
And it's just the culture we're in, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So what we have to do, we have to work really hard to instill a little bit of patience in people while they are understanding how all this thing fits together. And they're still they're going to get results anyway. So we just have to extend the time horizon because there's nothing that you can't really undo from a body composition perspective in about 90 days. You know, and we're seeing some like phenomenal results that are coming from people that have really kind of taken this on board. Now, don't read me wrong, is that it takes discipline,
Yes,
and it takes resilience, and it takes you showing up. It is not a quick fix. It's not a pill to fix anything. But what that does is that builds in long-term success if you can instill these things in over that time. Those that don't instill this sort of education that we're putting into people at Nutrition Angel will generally kind of fall off the wagon, but they would have fallen off anyway, if you know what I mean. Because often patience is the hardest part of my job, is keeping people patient because they've got to understand the body composition in order to be patient, because they don't know what's changing until we show them what's changed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like trusting the process, isn't it? Learning as much as you can, soaking up all the education that you and the team and staff offer, and it is trusting the process, because we are so conditioned to focus on numbers, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I'm like one of the worst for that. You know, it's all about the numbers, but understanding the process, understanding what Nutrition Angel is about, understanding the education around it, it isn't just about the numbers, and patience takes a massive part of that. It's trusting that process.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate that does also take time for people. I think if you can get somebody to just stay in the game for even not for 90 days, they can look dramatically different and feel dramatically different to when they walk through the door.
That's quite exciting when you think about it like that, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's only 12 weeks. It's what I say to people is it's going to pass anyway. So you may as well do the work. Now, within that time frame, you are going to have a complacency phase, which is actually really key to how we get great results. Is we notice red flags or the little flares that go up often before people do, and that's because of the food plan and the food diaries and what have you that we do, and also because, as you know, everything is behaviour. So we are way more behavior and principles than probably our nutrition, because we get people thinking for themselves while we're helping them to adjust their behavior. So it's easier for me to alter your habits than it is to give you new ones, which is why when we drip feed information in, half of the time you're eating the things that you were eating anyway with some small tweaks. Because there's nothing more overwhelming than me going, right, Lindsay, here's a massive list of things you're going to have to buy in. Here's how you're going to weigh everything. Here's how you're going to do. It just does not work, because it becomes analysis paralysis. You just get paralyzed because there's too much, absolutely too much information. So if we can take you nice and gently, bring you into the community, if we can just alter some of the things without taking everything away from you, because if I tell you, right, Lindsay, you're not having a drink, you're not having alcohol, it's body poison, all this kind of stuff. It's like telling a toddler, don't touch that radiator. Before you know it, they're like that. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Rather than, I'm not taking that away from you. And people look at you as if say, what? Because all the conditioning that they've had in perhaps other ways that they've been trying to do stuff is not how we do something. And you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. You have to understand what the person wants. It's the adage of give them what they want, sell them what they need. So what do you want? Well, I want to do this. Okay, well, this is what we need to do in order for you to get that. And then it's about what you're willing to alter and change.
In a realistic way.
Yeah.
You are obviously very passionate about what you do, really knowledgeable. Like even just sitting here, I've learnt new things and I'm like really feeling that passion. So what is it that you love most, would you say, about what you are doing at Nutrition Angel?
I think it's what I've always enjoyed. So because, we develop new coaches and open more clubs and all that kind of stuff, I really sit between two worlds. I love business. I love learning about business. I love learning about other people's business, just business in general. I also really enjoy the development of people. And I just found out that actually I'm probably quite good at the development bit where, their behaviors and the nutrition and all that kind of stuff is concerned. And when you see the difference in what just changing people's outlook is, and it's not necessarily even body composition, weight, or even health related. When you're able to give people just that, the dial up of the thermostat of confidence, that's the thing that's fantastic. So, and particularly when you have, because we have a lot of women that come through perimenopausal, just feeling terrible, or sort of latter end of menopause, or even just starting, they've been convinced in some way, shape, or form, whether that's friends, whether that is media, whether that's doctors or what have you, that their situation is not going to get better in terms of weight loss, body composition, all that kind of stuff. And every single time we do a wellness evaluation, it all boils down to confidence. So when we're talking about, if we could improve this, how is it going to make you feel? Confidence comes up all the time. And to see people who come in and go, got back in my size 12 jeans or whatever it is, or for those that come in and go, it's amazing how many people that go on dates when when the confidence starts going up. We've had an influx of, I won't say, well, yeah, why not? Divorcees, that are now back in the dating game.
Nothing
and what
to do
have
with
you.
signing up to Nutrition
Oh
Aid.
yeah, no, nothing, no. They don't suddenly end up on Tinder or something like that. But the difference, because their confidence going up, they're now going out more. They're just the shift in that side of things, and the new behaviours that they've adapted. That's really kind of like the secret sauce for me, because they just start. We had a saying, we've not used it for some time actually, is giving people their sparkle back. So the amount of people that come in, I've lost me, or I'm a mum and I've gone to the back of the queue, and all this, and all of the above, or a dad, back of the queue, because we've got a load of guys that come see us as well. It's allowing them to move themselves to the front of the queue, to now start to get their sparkle back, see the confidence come up, and all that does in turn is it fuels the results, because you've then got that good feeling that's attached to the things that they're doing, and you hear it all the time in club that it's changed my life and all that kind of stuff, and that's a real powerful and fulfilling thing.
And one of your favourite things. Seeing people prioritising themselves, putting themselves and their well-being first, as they should, and then reaping those results.
It's just the sheer difference in people. Obviously mental health, as you know, is spoken about a lot, and just the difference in how people walk into club 2-3 months, sometimes even less, a month later than when they walked in. Even just how they carry themselves, the difference in people is just astronomical.
Which must be lovely to see.
Yeah, it is.
That you've had a hand in that, a part in that. And then what about on the flip side then? What do you love maybe not so much about what you do, or what frustrates you maybe about what you do?
There's a lot of things that frustrate me, but that's only because of my own ambition as well in, wanting to grow faster and all that kind of stuff. But if I was sort of looking at more of grassroots stuff, I think people either giving advice that isn't followed. I think that's a frustrating one. Have you seen the meme, the asshole? Have you seen it? Are you an asshole? Have you ever seen it? No. It's like, it basically says it's like asshole, noun, someone who asks advice and then doesn't follow it. Have you not seen it? I'll send it to you. It's funny. Yeah. So, when you spend time with people and they know that you know, and you know that they know that the answer is in the advice that you've given them, but it still doesn't get done. And we call it in club foot to posterior. So I don't like giving the foot to posterior conversation, or this is kind of your last chance kind of thing, because all I don't want people to do is waste their money on something that's not right for them.
Yeah.
So I have to get to the bottom, and I don't like having to get to the bottom of why they're not doing what we're asking them to do or what they're doing or what have you. But sometimes I've got to make the decision that, you know what, this isn't right for you. So maybe it's time for you to maybe go try something else, or, you know, because we can't be everything to everybody, and we don't set ourselves out to be everything to everybody. We're a nutrition club that if you're going to come and play the game with us, you'll win the game. You'll get great results. If you want to sit on the bench and watch the game, then we'll only really allow you to do that for so long, because we want everybody within the club moving in the same direction. So the culture remains the same of being results driven, because it's their results that we're trying to get. So having, difficult conversations, which I've never been scared of. I don't like having them, but it's the only way that we keep Nutrition Angel what it is for everybody in the room. So I think that's probably the one.
Yeah, makes sense. So what advice would you give to someone that might be listening to this podcast and thinking, I'm feeling like it's time for me to start sort of making some changes, but I do not know where to start? Like, what would you say?
What kind of changes?
Probably lifestyle, fat loss type, well-being changes.
Wanting to look after themselves a little bit more.
Yeah. Getting into those size 12 jeans or something like that.
Okay. So the key one is making sure that you are ready. So we've got a question on one of our wellness evaluations that basically says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about achieving the goals that brought you through the door today? And if we get a 7 or below, we don't take them on. Or we at least investigate a little bit more as to, what's because we want people in the right frame of mind if it's a self-belief thing, we can fix that all day long. Or if it's that I don't really know what I'm getting into, so I'm going to lowball it, because give someone out of 10, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick a 7 anyway, just psychology. So we just got to investigate a little bit more as to, maybe why you're not quite ready. So 1, be ready, but 2 is go and try a few different things, because I'm not going to sit here and say that Nutrition Angel is for everybody, because as we've established, it might not be. But sometimes you need to know what doesn't work in order for you to then start looking for perhaps what does. What I do know is if people are looking for like a vibrant community of people who are supportive and what have you, then we might be the right place. But what I would say is 1, don't necessarily go to TikTok and start looking for all the different ways and means in order for you to overdo it. And also don't expect to do it quickly, because anything really worth having is worth working for, because unless you are doing something that's going to flex your discipline muscles a little bit, there's no discipline in jabbing your stomach. I'm sorry, there just isn't. And that is right for a portion of people. But there's a lot of it that's being used and abused that perhaps it's not for. And also you don't know what you're kicking the can down the road to a little bit later on, because like I said, within 90 days, if you can just be patient, you would get a great result, irrespective of whether it's us, if you just focused and had that little bit of discipline. And I think culture, particularly in this country at the moment, is that of lack of discipline and lack of resilience. We are not necessarily going in the right direction on flexing those attributes that we are actually, as a country, have been renowned for. So expect it not to be easy, but expect to actually feel a sense of accomplishment when you've got to the bottom of it.
So if someone's listening to this, if they ask themselves, am I ready for change? Am I ready to make a change? If the answer's, I think I'm there, then
don't send us a DM on Instagram and we'll
find out a little bit more about it. Find the thing that works for you.
Because there's absolutely no obligation for people to come in and join Nutrition Angel.
No.
It's a very relaxed wellness evaluation. We'll pop you on the scanners, show you where healthy is, where you fall within that. We'll have a conversation about obviously goals and all that. Have a look at the sort of things that you're eating and whatnot. And we do what's called a club tour. So we'll walk you around the club as if you're a member, show you how we do what we do. And I always say, if it's for you, great. If not, great. You at least know that you can either, file it away for later, or you can get started and start getting some results.
So it's definitely worth if you are that person that is ready to make some changes and you've got some goals you want to achieve, but you need some help, you need some support, some accountability, it's definitely worth just at least reaching out and making that first step. So thinking about some of your members, thinking about some of the amazing results, and there have been, what would you say is the biggest transformation that you've seen in this time while you've been at Park Farm?
I think it's got to be, well, there's a few, because if we're just talking about transformation in a physical sense, that's probably got to be Amy, who's over 6 stone now. So she came in to us in October, I think it was. Yeah, October. And she's just gone through 6 stone. And that's obviously fantastic in itself. But she is a little bit more of a rarity in that she's 100% one of these people that has been on a downward trajectory the entire time, which I don't think I've seen many of those at all. But she's also stuck to everything that's been advised and not deviated, not really had a complacency phase, which I've been quite surprised about. And has just done fantastic. 6 stone is a lot to go at.
And that's not in very long either.
No.
I mean, she's smashed it, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's done really well.
The photos are incredible. The journey's been incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a great transformation.
Yeah, we've got Owen. He's now completed what he's needed to, so he's now left club, and he did 27 kilos, I think it was. I don't know what that is in stone.
That's
it's a fair amount.
It's a lot again, isn't it?
Yeah. But then we've got loads of other people that have come through that even just the 1 to 2 stone losses just dramatically changed how they feel about themselves, either from a mental health perspective or just from their own personal confidence. I'm trying to think who else we've had. Andrea, she's been with us for, I'm going to say, nearly 2 years, and I think she's done a lot, and it just escaped. I can see the board, and I just cannot think about how much weight she's done a lot.
Yes.
Really got into her running.
Yeah,
I think she's done the half marathon.
Yeah, she's really getting into things that, like running. She had that personal goal about abs and stuff like that.
Yeah, she wanted abs for Christmas, which I really did try to talk her out of.
But she's really achieving things, like massive things, massive goals. Yeah,
and for seeing when you... And it's really strange as well, when you saw her to start with, you wouldn't have thought that... It always amazes me that the guys that are losing a load, you would look at them and sometimes you would think, I didn't even think you had that to lose. And then you just see them sort of come in, they just look like dramatically different people, which is really cool.
Yeah, inside and out.
Inside and out.
So personally speaking, how do you take care of your own health and well-being whilst balancing this business, other businesses, and just being a really busy person?
Gym has always been the thing for me, really. I've always trained more so in bodybuilding style gyms, that kind of thing. So I'll give a shout out to Be Modified, that's down in Little Eaton. Who's next to Georgie Energy and all that on that little that thing, which is great. If
you're listening and you want to come on,
we can make that happen for
Jump
sure.
On.
Yeah. So I'll go and train down there. Probably actually I train less now than I used to, and I'm kind of more focused on, because I'm 43 now, and what I want to try and do is preserve my joints and not be necessarily training like a bodybuilder so much anymore, but still to a certain degree, because that's the kind of style that I like. Used to do a lot of martial arts, but don't do as much now, mainly just because of just busyness and all that kind of stuff. And I sort of stopped teaching as well for a bit. And I just try and obviously look after myself as best I can in terms of following my own advice. and I like to call it, I try and stay leanish all year round. So leanish is like lean, but still eats pizza and likes beer.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Balance.
Yeah, a bit of
every
balance.
so
yeah.
often.
Yeah. Pizza, beer, balance. Because it's also relatable to the people that you're seeing as well. I think if you are full on monk mode, then it just doesn't translate to the area of where I am. And don't get me wrong, I'll go through stages where you know that I'll cut and what have you, but that's just always been my kind of thing. That it's a little bit more of a discipline flex than it is really anything else.
Yeah.
I also get regular, and I think people should, and it's becoming a lot more fashionable. Is I'll get my blood work done very well, very often. So every 6 months, I'll go make sure I'm paying for like proper blood test of full spectrum, full everything to see.
Test,
yeah, absolutely, and particularly for people that are listening as well. Always, I'll go on like a slight rant. And I make no apologies on it. Like in this country,
buckle up, people.
In this country, we are terrible at HRT, and also HRT covers both sexes. So TRT, testosterone replacement, still hormone. HRT, obviously female. We are terrible at it. So whatever you do, if you are getting symptoms of menopause, and I'll file it under menopause. So, like male testosterone drops ridiculously, sort of mid 30s, 40s and what have you. And I'm convinced, and the studies are convinced as well, that, these changes in hormones are leading to depression and, all of the stuff that is not both male and female. So whatever you do, don't just go and have a one size fits all, square peg in a round hole, stick a patch on you and off you pop. Go and actually have a look at where you are deficient properly over a proper timeline so you can address it effectively with your doctor. So go armed with some knowledge and education on what is missing before you sometimes go and actually say, I think I'm experiencing menopause symptoms and what have you, because all that will happen is in this country, we are terrible at giving advice for women to have testosterone and all this kind of stuff, which a lot of the times is really relevant for a lot of women. And for some reason, NHS is petrified of it. So if you can at least go armed with what is not going in the right direction, then you might stand a better chance of actually getting something that is properly prescribed for you, not just a square peg in a round hole.
And that's something that you take quite seriously when you're thinking about your own well-being.
Yeah,
and your
absolutely.
Own health.
Yeah, because I want to know, where my hormone levels are. I want to know how one's affecting the other. Because often a lot of people don't realize is that vitamin D massively affects testosterone. Now, I don't know whether that's the same for women, vitamin D, but certainly for men, that affects testosterone quite dramatically as well. So it could be that you're sometimes looking in the wrong place as to what's deficient, where bringing up something else could be the thing that actually activates the correct hormone to do the correct job without getting too sciencey.
Yeah, so just about, like we've said a few times, it's that education, it's taking responsibility for your own sort of health and well-being, knowing what is going on for you,
because
what your
we're quite
level
lazy.
of normal is.
Because, we over here, because we get the NHS, it's all free and all this kind of stuff, we don't necessarily take a proactive approach to looking under that we actually take more care in our car, taking it for an MOT and servicing than we do actually out their own bodies.
Which is true.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, you can, because I've been guilty of it, of maybe just you not being obsessed by it, but just thinking, oh no, what this marker needs to be up here, or I need to do this, or what have you. Whereas, sometimes I wonder whether being oblivious and just like, the average guy walking down the road really cares, whether you're thinking, oh my God, is my blood pressure at 120/80 or what, all of this kind of stuff, because you can go down a rabbit hole with that. But at least be armed, educate yourself and get, things done by regularly. I mean, 6 months a year, whatever it is. But yeah, stay on top of that, because you can change things quite quickly.
Take an interest in your own health, be proactive rather than reactive, because it is easier in the long run. So lastly, Matt, if people are listening to this and thinking, God, he really knows what he's on about. He sounds great. You know, I'm really feeling this, and they're feeling like, okay, I think this might be for me. How can people kind of get in touch with you to find out more a bit about the wellness evaluation and what the club offers? What's the best thing to do? How do they reach you?
So we've just got a really simple form on the website, Nutrition Angel Derby. I want to say com. I should really know that, but I think if you put in Nutrition Angel Derby into Google, it'll come up. Or you could go to Nutrition Angel Derby on Instagram or Facebook and just pop us a message on there, and we'll find it. Or just email the podcast, and I'm sure you can just fling it across.
Yeah, fantastic. So first step, just reach out, and then you'll take care of the rest.
Yep.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for answering all of my questions. That's been really interesting. It's even like made me feel like, yeah, I want to be a part of this. And it's like, you already are. Calm down. So,
you need to renew your membership as well.
FYI. So now thinking about the good, the bad and ugly then. So everyone I ask, recently, is there anything that's happened in business or personal life that you describe as good, bad or ugly? And what was it?
Well, we've got to go with obviously Saf being 7 months pregnant, haven't we? So, and, arranging wedding and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have it as all good.
All good.
Yeah.
Really good stuff going on. Mm-hmm. You're going to be a dad. You're going to be a husband.
Yep.
Amazing stuff.
The bad bit is probably the noises that are coming out of that woman right now are nothing short of Homer Simpson.
She is going to kill you.
Oh, no, that's why I said it.
Saf, I apologise.
Yeah, well, you'll be able to get her on and you'll be able to do it from the
I can't
other side.
Wait for that. I cannot wait for that.
And yeah, I'm sure she'll throw me under the bus.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good. I love that. Okay, so now, oh my God, I've never been so nervous actually. Flip and reverse it.
Oh, this is where I ask you,
This
isn't
is where you get to ask me anything. Mm-hmm. One question, anything that you want. Oh my God.
Oh, Linz.
I feel a bit scared.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't think. Actually, no, this is very apt because what I actually want. So, a little bit of a guilty pleasure is I really like ghosty. So I'm an optimistic skeptic.
Okay.
So what that basically means is that I'm optimistic that what you're telling me is legit, but I'm also going to be a little bit skeptical as to what it is.
I see that about you.
In the remit of this, so I like things like, I find it fascinating more than anything, the whole kind of medium type person. Do you know what I mean? So we're going way off piste here. So I want to know either what's the weirdest experience that you've had that is either ghost type related, experience related, something you can't explain, that kind of thing.
Oh my God.
That's off piece, isn't it?
It is off piece.
Have you got one?
Good one, but I have got one.
Oh, go.
Yeah, I have got one. So me and my mum and dad used to own the Bredsall Village shop, which is now Damson's coffee shop.
Oh, right.
Hopefully Damson's is coming on the pod soon. But so we used to own that when it was a shop, and we had the house that it was attached to.
Bougie.
And we rented it. Long story, won't go into it, but I ended up having to move into the house. So to take on the lease of the shop, we had to take on the lease of the house.
And was the house old? Was it?
Really old.
Do you know when?
Oh, it's like really old.
Oh, it's like really old.
I want to say 1800s, but I'm just plucking that out of the hair. Okay, but yeah, it's old. So anyway, I lived in the house, and it was a really quirky house. It was, fairly nice house. Anyway, this situation went on a little while where something kept waking me up in the night in when I was upstairs in bed.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, it started off just becoming aware that I kept being woken up in the night, but couldn't really get to grips why. Anyway, it kept happening. And then I realised what was waking me up was, floorboards in my bedroom. I didn't hear a door opening or anything like that, but I would hear the floorboards creak, stepping to the window, and then back again. And that was what was waking me up.
Wow. It wasn't like heat expand. So this is the optimistic skeptic.
Yeah.
It wasn't heat expanding or contracting with it being. Was it the same time every night?
It was a ghost.
Did you see them?
No, but
You heard it here first, people.
I'm so scared of anything like that. And it really, really freaked me out. And then, actually, I'm not going to say that bit, but yeah, it really freaked me out.
No, I wanted then. You can't leave us on like the EastEnders.
So this is going to sound really dramatic and like I'm making it up, but I'm not. But someone did die in the shop.
But you lived in the house next door.
Not die in the shop while we were there or anything, but one of the owners, like historically, many years ago, died in the shop.
Oh.
So I think it was him.
You think it was him?
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't like heat expanding the floorboards or anything like that.
It was definitely a ghostly experience, and I don't like stuff like that.
So was it at the same time every night though? Just out of interest.
It was, yeah. Well, it was always at night. It was always in the middle of the night.
Well,
never.
You never have
in the
anything happen
day.
in the day, do you?
No,
I mean, let's be honest.
I know it's never in the
Nocturnal
day, but it was
ghosts,
always
yeah.
like, yeah, it was always in the middle of the night, and yeah. I mean, I feel scared just thinking about it because I was petrified.
Ace.
Good question though, but
Thanks.
it has given me a bit of PTSD.
Would you want to know something really funny? I thought I was, so when I was really young, this is like one of the things that I used to remember. I would think that I could hear footsteps in my bedroom, and it was like almost like scratching footsteps. And it wasn't until I got self-aware enough that it was actually my eyelashes rubbing on the pillow that it stopped.
Stop!
When, yeah. When I was a kid, dead foot. I don't think I've ever even told anybody that.
Have you got like really long
No, I did when I was a kid. It was like a camel. No, but like when I was asleep, like because you know, like you shut your eyes, don't you? Like go away, and then it stops.
Yeah, like I don't want to know.
And then like you open your eyes, and of course it was like my eyelashes rubbing on the pillow that I could hear transferring from into my ear.
It's really funny, but it's also really cute.
I was only about, I think it was about maybe 5 or.
And now I'm like wanting to just look at your eyelashes. Oh, that was funny. That was a good one. So last thing then, pod people, is just a bit of a shout out. So this week's shout out is to a fabulous woman called Nikki who runs the Little Baby Sanctuary. This is a baby massage, baby yoga and baby tummy time service that was set up by Nikki. She's got over 25 years experience working with babies, children in all aspects of childcare. So Nikki is now proud to support new parents or caregivers in the very early days, weeks or months of having your new baby, by providing a community support and these services. So Nikki offers either one-to-ones or group classes in venues in Belper, Darley Abbey, Derby, Ripley or Matlock, or in your own home if you prefer. So if you would like to find out more about the services offered by Nikki and the amazing benefits that baby massage and baby yoga and baby tummy time has for you and your baby, then contact Nikki via Instagram or Facebook or Google her. It is the Little Baby Sanctuary. You might want to bank that bit of information.
Logged.
So thank you so much for jumping on. I hope you'll agree. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been a pleasure to have you on the pod. I've learnt stuff.
Thanks for having me.
I've learnt things that I didn't know. I feel all energised and ready to go back to club on Friday. So thank you so much, Matt.
Should we get the merch in before we go?
Yeah.
We need
I've already introduced those.
Oh, have you?
He's impressed by my real podcast mugs. We love them. Thanks to the stepdaughter. See you later. Thank you.